You're now watching Q News. Here are the top stories for this hour. Hamas has handed over two Israeli detainees to International Red Cross officials in Rafah, southern Gaza, as part of the seventh batch in the first phase of the ceasefire agreement. This phase involves the release of 6 detainees. In exchange, 602 Palestinian detainees, including 50 serving life sentences, 60 with long sentences, and 445 from Gaza arrested after October 7, 2023, are set to be released from Israeli prisons. The International Red Cross has received 3 additional Israeli detainees from Hamas at the El-Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza, following the earlier release of 2 others in Rafah. This release is part of the 7th batch of detainees in the first phase of the ceasefire agreement, which involves the release of 6 detainees. Among those freed were Ilya Cohen, Omer Shemtov, and Omer Wenkert. Additionally, a detainee named Hisham Sayed from Gaza was also released without ceremony. Hamas has announced its readiness to move forward with the second phase of the ceasefire agreement at Gaza, which includes a comprehensive detainee exchange aimed at achieving a permanent ceasefire and the complete withdrawal of Israeli military forces. In a statement, Hamas warned against any Israeli attempts to renege on the ceasefire and emphasized that the only way to secure the return of all detainees from Gaza is through negotiation and strict adherence to the terms of the ceasefire agreement. Palestinian media reported that Israeli forces withdrew from the village of Yazid, north of Nablus in the West Bank, after arresting a Palestinian man and his wife from a besieged house. The Israeli forces had deployed military reinforcements accompanied by a bulldozer towards the village, and explosions were heard in the village simultaneously with the siege of the house. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun has met with a congressional delegation with U.S. Ambassador to Lebanon, Lisa Johansson, in attendance to discuss U.S.-Lebanese relations, border security, and economic stability. U.S. Congressman Ronnie Jackson has reaffirmed U.S. support for the Lebanese armed forces to control the country and the security of the country, saying that it's their responsibility to secure the borders and to provide security as soon as possible. The European Union is set to suspend Syria sanctions related to energy, transport, and reconstruction. That comes as the Council of the European Union has decided to suspend several restrictive measures in areas of energy, transport, and reconstruction, as well as to facilitate the associated financial and banking transactions. White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt has said that U.S. President Donald Trump is set to meet with French President Emmanuel Macron on February 24th. Leavitt added that Trump is also expected to meet with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer on February 27th.
Will host France's President Emmanuel Macron. And on Thursday, the UK Prime Minister
Kash Patel was sworn in as FBI director after a narrow 51-49 vote in the Republican-controlled Senate. Despite opposition from 2 moderate Republicans, Patel's confirmation marks the rise of a Trump loyalist at the helm of the FBI amid increasing political tensions. Critics, particularly Democrats, raised concerns over his past political advocacy for Trump, while Republican supporters argue he will reform the agency and restore public trust. U.S. President Donald Trump has encouraged Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to cooperate. Trump noted that Russia was willing to make a deal. He also mentioned that the U.S. was nearing an agreement with Ukraine regarding a critical minerals deal.
I think that President Putin
In response, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced that his government is collaborating with Washington on a draft agreement to improve the strained relations between the two nations. During his nightly address, Zelensky emphasized that the agreement must be crafted carefully to ensure its effectiveness. He expressed hope for a fair and positive outcome, aiming to strengthen bilateral ties and resolve ongoing challenges between Ukraine and the United States.
прем'єр-міністром Люксембургу щодо різних ідей та пропозицій.
This concludes our top stories for this hour. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more updates on Qnews.